Hi guys, this is Nick Schertz from USA Ice Team, and I'm going to give you a quick rundown on how to properly set up your palm rods. Here's one of our palm rods that we use in competition, and I'm going to show you how we match an indicator with the jig. First, we pick out what size jig we're going to set up with, and we're using a lot of 3mm jigs here for the brim. I'll take my jig, pick the right size indicator. It's very important to pick the right size indicator to match the jig. The way I do that is I slip my indicator on my palm rod, and I take my jig, I put it right through the tip of that indicator, and see how it balances. What I want is I want my indicator to be loaded very well so I can pulse my bait, pulse my bloodworm so they seem alive. Otherwise it gets a little bit too stiff. Right now I want that thing loaded right up so when it's on the line I can kind of just pulse it. Has to be weighted properly for that. That's a good setup right there with the 3mm. And as we go down in size, we take a smaller jig. So I'm going to go down to a 2.65. I drop my indicator size, drop my line size. We have different line diameter for every jig. Everything's married together. This is an example of a 2.65 mil that I've set up. See, my spring is very loaded, very well loaded. Now if I have that on bottom, I can just barely pulse that jig off bottom. Here's an example of not enough load in the spring. No, this is a 2.15 with a spring for a heavier jig. Now to give that action, I really have to move the rod more than just pulse the spring. Essentially, we're pulsing the indicator. And with this in the water, I'm not going to get any kind of action out of the jig because the indicator is just going to move the jig up and down. It won't pulse the bait. Very critical also with the small jig size to pick the proper small diameter line. We have 3 sizes that we're using here today. I'm looking at a 2.15 on the small end, a 2.65 and a 3. For each of these jig sizes, I also use a different diameter line. I like to have the smaller line with the smaller wire, and it helps with taking some of the memory out of the line. With the 3mm jig is a little bit heavier diameter wire, and I can get away with a little bit heavier line, and when I can get away with it, we'll do that. This is a 0.074 millimeter diameter. That's typically what I'm going to use with a lighter jig like a 2 or a 2.15 mil. With a 2.65 here, I'm using a 0.083 diameter line, and then with the big 3mm, 0.35 size is a 0.097 millimeter line. Properly weighted jig, 3mm. Ready to spool some line on and get ready for action. If you want to check out more of our videos, go to USA Ice Team on Facebook or check out USA Angling on YouTube.